So week 7 of, I don't even know how many weeks of school we have. And there's 15 weeks in the semester, so halfway, roughly. Let's go to the instructions for today. I wrote everything out for you. Keep my chat over here just in case somebody gets chatty. Just a reminder, this is another A week. We've had 3 A weeks in a row because we are trying to keep it balanced. Next week is B. So next week goes back to the usual alternating weeks. Also, please mark your calendars. The counselors have scheduled time on Wednesday next week, which is the 21st, which is usually an asynchronous day. But on that day, just like they did with the Apply Texas, they're going to be coming in case you want some help with your FAFSA. So I think that we're going to set up breakout rooms like we did before. I'm going to put you in with your counselors so that they can help you with FAFSA wherever you are in the stages of that. If you're done with FAFSA, just email your counselor that you've already submitted it, that it's already done, so they don't expect you in these kinds of meetings or try to feel like they have to take time to call you up and say, did you do your FAFSA? So if however you're in the process of your FAFSA and you could use a little guidance and help, or if you haven't even started it and you need to get your PIN number and get yourself squared away, then put on your calendar to come. I'm going to make a separate Zoom link, which I'll send out to you on Google Classroom next week. But during this time on Wednesday, next week, the 21st, you can come and the counselors will meet with you for FAFSA. So make a note of that. I'll remind you probably the night before. I'll send it out with a link. I'm going to make a special link because senior pictures are Thursday and Friday next week, and everybody's got a different schedule for that. They had originally scheduled with me to do the FAFSA Thursday and Friday. And I'm like, well, pictures. Oh, okay. So we're putting all my classes on Wednesday. So all my A's and B's are going to be on the same meeting schedule. But anyway, so I'll send you the link the night before. Also, that will be a reminder Tuesday night that, oh yeah, there's a FAFSA meeting the next day. Are there any questions about that or anything about FAFSA in general? Remember that the goal is to finish your Apply Texas and your FAFSA by the end of October. I don't want you to feel like a horrible person if you're not done, but that's the goal, right? A goal is like a target that you're shooting for. So if you need an extra week because you're working on your essay, or your parents have to get some documents together, et cetera, then that's okay. But I think if they don't make a goal, then it doesn't, there's not like a timeline. So to be in your best position for scholarships and all that stuff, I think that should be your goal, to be finished with that stuff. And how's it going with Apply Texas?
For me, it's going good. I submitted applications for 3 schools because they didn't require an essay. And the other ones, I'm just working on the essays.
Yeah, from the formative that we had last week when I was asking you about that, I got the idea that people were mainly working with their essays. And I'm going to talk a little bit about brainstorming. I was making a lot of notes about brainstorming, but I did go through and already comment on those, because I feel like when I ask you a question like, how's it going with this thing you're working on, I feel like I shouldn't wait to look at those. I feel like I should get in there and give some feedback kind of quickly, because by the time I answer a week later, you could already be somewhere else on that project. So yeah, I was giving feedback. Some people were kind of like mentioning, well, I don't really know where to go with this topic or whatever. So I was trying to give some feedback through formative. But I want to talk a little bit about brainstorming today too with the essays. But I've been looking at a lot of essays. I probably get 6 or 7 a week that people have been shuffling my way to give feedback on them. You don't have to do that. I'm not going to make it an assignment, but I do recommend getting somebody to look over your essay. Whenever we're working on something for a long period of time, no matter what it is, we become kind of immune to it, right? Like we don't notice mistakes, we don't notice things because our brain fills in for what we know is supposed to be there. So sometimes getting a different perspective, whether it's, you know, your counselor, I don't know if they have time for that, but, you know, somebody to look at it for you is always helpful. So if you think that, you know, you would want feedback from me, then just go ahead and send it my way. I already talked about the senior pictures, which are next week. You should have already received an email about that with a time. Did you all get those emails?
I haven't gotten one.
Okay, check your spam or whatever, but if not, then I want, somebody else didn't get one?
Yeah, me.
Okay, I'm gonna send you an email. Hold on, let me see. Let me tell you who to email. It's Miss Garcia, but she has a different email. It's not just L Garcia.
I think you guys might have it on the 23rd because since your last names are like at the end of the alphabet, and that's probably why they haven't sent the email yet.
Well, didn't they send the email to everybody about what their time is going to be?
Well, I know
I don't
that.
know because some people got it like on the same day as the main email, and I just got mine like yesterday.
Oh. Okay. Hold on. I'm just looking up her email. Okay, here we go. Dang it. It's A.N. Garcia. A.N. Garcia. So yeah, give it a little bit of time. I mean, it's not until next Thursday and Friday, but people need to plan. I mean, like, I'm sure you need a ride up to school and, you know, whatever. So A.N. Garcia is Mrs. Garcia that you can email her about the invitations. Well, the schedule. I don't have the schedule. They just told us that they were sending it out. So normally we would just do it during class, but anyway, let me know if you don't hear back. I haven't gotten one, but they told us we're going to be sending emails through Friday. Oh, through this week, Friday? Okay, so if you don't have a time or an email by Monday, then send an email to her. Okay, yeah, okay. By Friday, tomorrow or Friday. So give it a little bit of time. You know, that's one of the things that you learn as you start going through life, that everybody's schedule is not the same as your schedule. And if you're in charge of the schedule, that's cool. But if you're not in charge of the schedule, it's annoying because you're ready for whatever, but the person in charge isn't ready to put the information out. So hashtag life. All right, let's move on. Lesson. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the resumes today. I started grading them. I think I'm gonna have about a little more than half of them done. So you should be getting those back. They look pretty good. A few things to keep in mind that I'm mentioning on a lot of the resumes. Number one, your resume really needs to be 1 page long. My resume is 1 page long of my 28-year career. So if that's the case, then you have to find a way to fit it all on 1 page. I know that you want to put all of your impressive things on there, and y'all are very impressive, but you have to be smart with fonts. You have to be smart with font size, columns, all of that sort of thing. Because when somebody says they want a resume, it means they want a summary. It's kind of like, do I want you to write a novel for this assignment, or do I want you to write a summary of a novel for this assignment? If I ask for a summary and you write a novel, that wasn't what I asked for. So you really need to keep it to 1 page. Either take some things out minimize it, find some blank space and utilize it. You can make columns, right? Like under a heading, you can have bullet points left and then bullet points halfway across so that that saves you some vertical space. But you really do need to have it on one page. It's sort of the definition of a resume, is that it's a one-page document. There is a whole other document that you can do if somebody asks you for an elongated explanation of your career highlights, and that's called a curriculum vitae, which I put into that seminar, an explanation of that. So my curriculum vitae is 6 pages long, but when somebody wants my resume, they just want the short version. So I have a 1-page resume. So make sure that you try to, before you give it to somebody, get it to fit on there. If you need help doing that, mess with your margins, go back to your template and make that little stripe on the side a little bit smaller so that you have more room over here. Play around with those kinds of dimensions to make sure that you have it on 1 page as much as possible. The other thing that I was noting is consistent font size and capitalization. So do make sure that if you have like a pattern going, like my headings are all in blue and they're all in caps and this size and this font, make sure all of your headings are that same way. If underneath the information is all using Times New Roman, 14 for the heading and then 10 for the detail, just make sure they all fit that standard. It will make your resume look a lot more professional. Also, all caps. You shouldn't be using all caps unless it's like a heading. You could do that. So just double check that all the sections of your resume are formatted in a similar way, just for uniformity so that it looks, professional. Also, the last thing I want to say about resumes is that you have to put the dates of your involvement or your awards or your times in clubs and extracurriculars. So for example, if you're listing your extracurriculars and you have marching band, then you have to put in parentheses next to it the years. You can put, 2017 to present or whatever, but you have to put the times of involvement. If you received an award, you want to put the year that award was given. And then in that section, it should be arranged in chronological order from most recent down to the least recent. So once you put the dates in, you have to arrange them. People don't care as much about the thing that you were doing 5 years ago, 4 years ago. They care more about the things that you're doing now. So that's why you do that in that reverse order. So once you put the dates in, a lot of people did this. I'm just saying, when you work on it or when you're getting ready to send it out, just adjust for those things. But for the most part, everybody has a good looking resume. I like how some of the templates turned out. Hopefully they weren't too hard to deal with, but I think they make it look a lot more personalized. So I would make a PDF of it, and I would keep my account. The Canva account I know is free, and anytime you go back when you sign in, they've got all your stuff is still there. You can go back and work on it. So, it's like they're in a draft phase. So I would just go back and change things as you graduate from high school, as you move on to college and decide on coursework, change out things that don't apply anymore. Once you graduate from college, you take off your high school, stuff like that. So just keep it updated, and then I would just make a PDF and I would send the PDFs to people when you needed to use it. But I'm sending those back with some feedback, and you should get them. I think I'll be finished with all of them by tomorrow. I think I'm on the R's somewhere in there. Any questions on the resumes? Okay, college admissions essays. I know that everybody's in a different place with the college admissions essays, but you might have to do more than one. So you might be finished with one, but you haven't started the second one yet, and maybe the second one is more problematic. I know topic C on Apply Texas is tough to do. For some people, topic B is tough because it's hard to think about, like your talents and that sort of thing. I think that if you skip the brainstorming stage, then that's where it becomes hard for you to write the essay sometimes. So if you're sitting down to write the essay, whichever one it might be, even in the spring with your scholarship application essays, because there's gonna be a whole nother round of essays to write for that. I think that if you skip the brainstorming phase on these particular essays, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. And that's where people get into trouble because they're like, well, I can't think of what to write about. I started my first paragraph, but I don't really know where I'm going. Well, you don't know where you're going because you didn't think it through ahead of time. So you need to make a little map. You need to plan something out, do a web, do a list, do something to get your ideas down. And then you can kind of like combine ideas, right? Like, so if you think to yourself, all right, I have a ticket in my hand, where am I going? That's topic C. Well, I could say literally I want to go to Greece, or I could say it's a speeding ticket and I'm going to jail, or like, and just make a list. Then you might see that you could combine two of them, or you might see that your ideas that come later are more interesting. So definitely do the brainstorming first. And if you really can't think about your own personal qualities, because we live in a society where it's like not cool to praise yourself, then ask somebody else, ask your friend to, what are the 3 qualities that you think are most prominent in my personality? Or ask your mom, your mom's gonna know. So it's kind of good to do your background stuff before you start to write those more difficult essays. I mean, if you see your way and you already know what you want to write about it, then go for it. But I'm getting a lot of people who are like, well, I wrote 2 paragraphs, but I don't know. I'm kind of lost. And so that's my advice, is backtrack and do some brainstorming, do some thinking about what are some possibilities so that you can make a choice, a solid choice, once you see what's before you. There is some advice in that video that I made, or that seminar. It's down here. I'll move it up. This one, writing the college admissions essay, this seminar that I did, there's a whole page on brainstorming. I think I did it under topics right here. Next page. Always catch you at the most awkward moments. Yeah, here's where I'll talk about the brainstorming and all that stuff. I also talk about different ways to answer A, B, and C. So if you haven't done the seminar, I kind of walk you through all that stuff. Could be helpful for you. I need to move this up. Any other things about the college admissions essay that you want me to talk about? No. All right, well, continue to let me know if you want me to look at essays and give you some feedback. Instructions. All right, the last thing that I want to do for today before I go through this week's assignments is I want to talk about the website that we have for our course. Our projects that we're working on, you should be finishing them up. I would like to have them all in the next 2 weeks or so, by the 24th. So maybe, 10 or 12 days. So you should be finishing them up. But we do have a website where we have been posting since last year all of the ideas that students have had. So I gotta say, in the springtime, it wasn't as complete as I would hope. And at some point I need to go back, and they did finish their projects and some of them made it onto the website, but things were so crazy in the spring and the summer that I just haven't finished it. But you can get a good idea by clicking. This is our website. I made a new website for us. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But this is the one from last year, keeping in mind that they had the same situation as everybody else last year where we had to finish up virtually. But you can see that the website is pretty full. The idea is that we're taking our ideas that we're researching and what we're finding out about education and the other topics that we'll do in this course, and we're putting it out there. We're not just turning projects into Mrs. Ramos. I'm not the only audience in the world. I think as we go through school, our teachers are our main audience, but there could be a wider audience for almost everything that we do. So we put it out there. Also, we have a YouTube channel that's pretty robust. We have a Twitter. So this is last year's. So there are a bunch of different topics that they worked on. And you can see that there, you can go to education reform here, and it goes to the page where the students did their different projects. So you can go through here and see them if you want. And you'll also notice that the students that were in the class last year are also linked. And that's because I had them all make bios. And I'm getting to that because I'm gonna have you do that assignment this week. So these are all their projects. Some were videos, as you can see. I broke it down into different topics. So some people decided to write about or do their project about school climate. You can see all the different ways that they decided to address the same project that you guys are doing right now. But everybody kind of went in their own direction as we are. But if you go back to the home part, you can see, you can explore all this. I put the link on there for you. One of the students decided to do a podcast, and I think there are 4 or 5 episodes in the podcast. The first one is an interview with me about the course. And then it was Mateo Vallejo who decided to do this podcast. And after that, he started interviewing students in class to find out what they were doing with their projects. And each podcast episode is a student talking about what they were researching. This is our YouTube channel. There's a whole bunch of videos there too that you can go and check out. I'm not gonna play all of them for you, but all the different topics. So the independent research topics that people chose. I did structure the course a little bit differently last year because we were face-to-face. And what happened last year was that when we had our class period, it was basically work time. I was either conferencing with students about their projects or touching base with people about FAFSA, Apply Texas, all those things that I'm trying to touch base with you about. But it was a work period. So they were working on these projects during the class time. And so they had the projects I was giving them plus an independent project, so at the same time, that they were choosing to research about. Sometimes they were oriented toward science, they were doing experiments. Some people were doing personal work, like I want to look at the difference between an LVN degree and an RN degree. But all of them are posted here so that you can go through and you can see what they did. So they did more projects than we're going to do. And the reason is because we're on virtual learning. So I just don't want to burden you with extra projects because we don't have that dedicated class time, 6 hours a week to sit in class and work on it. So we're going to do like one project at a time instead of the way that we did it last year. I also want to point out the student profiles page because I want to start building this one for the class of 2021. So whenever a student did a project and I uploaded it to the website and or YouTube, which is a public channel, I included the bio for the student with their project. So as I'm posting your projects on our version of the website, I want to make sure that I can link to information about you because the course is about you guys and your research that you're doing. So you can click, probably you know these people, right? You can click on here and you can see the bio that they did. So they wrote a bio, a short couple paragraph bio, and then they gave me a picture that they wanted me to use. And then you can see that I started listing over here the projects that they completed. I'll admit that in the spring that kind of fell apart. I was trying to keep that up, but it was taking up too much time and I had to plan for my classes and support the seniors trying to graduate and all that stuff. So I started doing that, and maybe I'll have time someday to go back and add them in there. And I feel bad about that, but I feel like from the springtime, there's a lot of things that most of us couldn't keep up with. So that one had to go so I could do the things in class. But anyway, so I want to make a student profile section also for us in our class. So you can look at some of these if you want to. Some of them are kind of funny. Of course, John Miller decided to give his picture and has kind of a funny bio. But I want you to have your space where if somebody comes to the website, they can learn about you a little bit. And you guys are staying forefront. I'm making the website in the background, but it's about your voices going out there and with your projects and your stuff. So I want to make a student profile section for 2021. So I started our year website. Looks like this. I'm using the visual metaphor of doors and keys because we're unlocking our future. That's good, right? We're going to use the same YouTube channel and the same Twitter. By the way, if somebody wants to make it their personal project to run the Twitter account, you can let me know and we'll work something out. Like if you don't want to do one of the other projects and you want to just be the Twitter master, then I'm cool with that. You can let me know. I do it when I think of it. Roxana turned in her project last week, and so her video is up on the YouTube channel. You can go to YouTube and see some of the other ones. So this is our landing page. And then over here, I made a page for student profiles, but we don't have any yet. And so that leads me into our assignment for this week. So you can go on there and explore more. I didn't go to all the pages or anything, but you can go and look and see what happened last year and some of the projects that people that you know might have done. But the assignment for this week is to create your website bio. You can just do it on a Google Doc, you know, import a picture that you want me to use and do a little blurb, a little bio. You don't have to say I was born on July 7th, 2003. You can write it however you want to. I would say think about your current plans for the future and what your interests are. And you can look at some of the examples from last year for inspiration if you want, or you can go your own direction. But I put this to be due on Saturday. If I have something due on Saturday, it doesn't mean I want you to work on Saturday. It just means I'm trying to be considerate of the fact that you might have things that are due during the week that the teacher gives it to you at 9 in the morning and it's due at 4 in the afternoon, because I think that's happening. I'm not doing that, but I think that's happening. I'm right, aren't I? Yes. Yes. Okay. I know. So I don't want to, when I make assignments on the weekends, I've been telling all my classes this, when I make assignments due on the weekends, I'm not trying to tell you that you have to work on the weekends. I'm just trying to give you the longest possible window of opportunity to turn it in to alleviate the pressure that you have with more immediate things that people are insisting that you do that day or whatever. Hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, so that's the only assignment for this week. You should also be working on your project and getting that ready to go. Contact me if you need help. If you need help with research, I will help you find articles or facts or information, data, whatever you might need. So as you're going through the process, if you want to set it up where you have a chart or a graph, or you want to import something from one of your sources, then we need to find a good solid source for that. Especially with the education topic, it's good to have it up to date information. You don't want to be putting information in your project that's from 1984. You want to pick something that's a little more recent. Sometimes education data is a year or two old because they wait for the school year cycle to finish. So you might not have something from 2020, but I would think that if you're using data and you know, percentages and things, you probably want to be since 2014 or 2015 probably to have an updated piece of information depending on what it is that you're researching. But those projects should be in by the 24th. They're already starting to come in, so I'm grading them as they arrive. But if you're working on it and you are looking for information, you need help, contact me, please. If you have any questions about how it's going, if you want me to read the draft of your letter and give you some feedback, all that stuff is good. You don't have to just turn in a project on the 24th and hope for the best. You can communicate with me about how it's going, and I can give you, you know, constructive criticism in the working process. All right, any comments or questions about the project? You can unmute or you can put them in the chat. Okay, so then the assignments for this week, we do have a formative today and also on Friday so that I can keep up with how you're doing and do attendance also. Then you have the bio and pick that's due, and also working on your FAFSA and apply Texas. Did I not put the bio on there? Oh, no, there it is, number 2. All right. Any questions? Good morning, Ms. Crank. Ms. Crank joined us.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Let me put all the students up here so that you can say hi.
It's nice to see student faces.
Yeah, I agree.